Bring into this conversation Sphiwe Dlamini. He speaks on behalf of the SANDF. Sphiwe, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you. So, by all accounts, you are critically underfunded, and that's an understatement. When we talk about your budget being some 50 billion rand, when actually what would get you barely operating at an acceptable level is something like 80 billion rand. When you are cutting down on man hours and flying hours with the Air Force and sea hours with the Navy, how is it that you are able to afford all of this? Why the parade when you don't have money?
Well, there's two things here. One of the main reasons we do these parades is to actually exercise ourselves to make sure that we can move into any part of the country should any eventuality of an attack happen in South Africa. We've done 8 provinces and we're able to look at our doctrine to see how, if anything happens in the Eastern Cape, how quickly can we get to the Eastern Cape? If it happens in the Western Cape, how quickly can we get into the Western Cape with all our assets? If it happens here in Limpopo, for instance, how quickly can we get our assets from Bloemfontein, from Potchefstroom, and the other areas? So that is a major, major exercise in terms of ensuring that we are able to defend the integrity of the country.
But how realistic is that picture, though? For instance, by way of the equipment that will be on display here today, as a percentage of the equipment we actually have that's operable within the SANDF, what we'll be seeing here today is that pretty much everything we have that's operable, that we are able to operate even in terms of budgets and provision for people to actually get the training and the hours needed to be put in for them to be able to operate some of this equipment.
What you'll see here is a fraction of what we have, which is all operable. So what you see here is only but a percentage of the entire systems that we have.
I guess what I'm suggesting to you then, Sphiwe Dlamini, is that it's a fraction of what we have, and that's not a factor of you choosing for that to be a fraction of what we have. It's a factor of the budget simply doesn't allow you. I mean, if you have a few Gripens flying, it's simply because the budget with which you are operating allows you to only at any given point be able to allow a few pilots to fly a few Gripens and a few Hawks.
Look, there is no doubt about the fact that our budget has had an impact on how we do our business. Like in any other institution or business, if your budget is cut or reduced to a certain level, there certainly will be difficulties in ensuring that you're fully in operational mode. But we are making means with the little that we have. And I would emphasize one thing, that we have in 4 consecutive budget votes where the minister was delivering a speech in Parliament to the public, raised the issue, albeit in a very polite way, to say, look at ourselves as the Defence Force. These are your expectations. However, your expectations versus what you are giving us as a nation does not compare.
I mean, it got so bad that last year you were predicting that you were going to lose some 900 members across the SANDF, bringing your complement to some 74,000 active service members. That's pretty bad that you're now having to lose people. And of course, you said it was through natural attrition, but it's still pretty bad, isn't it?
Look, there's 2 issues here. The Defence Force operates with human power in the main. The technology that we have is but one of the capabilities that we have. But you need boots on the ground. And that they are the ones that drive these high-tech equipment. So we cannot afford to lose that number of people, precisely because it then makes an imbalance in how we are structured. Natural attrition, of course, will always be there. But if you were to say to me, I must release 10,000 of my members, then I would say to you, then how do you want me to operate? Remember, we have to have 3 battalions in state of readiness. And those that go out to do the work must be compensated by those that are ready to go in after those come back. So it means you are reducing the number of state of readiness of my battalions. And it means those members that have gone to do that work will not have a rest.
Yeah.
So each time I move a battalion to the theater, I must have 2 battalions in place, so that when the battalion in theater comes back,
right,
the one moves in quickly.
Quick answer, how much is all of this costing us?
Well, you know, that question, Thulasizwe, has been asked to me 8 times in the 8 parades we've had throughout the provinces. What we normally do after we've all is done and dusted here, we then sit down and basically go point by point as to how much has been spent. So I can only tell you that, and if you invite me, say in a week's time after we've completed this.
All right, Spiwe Dlamini, thank you so much. We'll hold you to that, of course, because finances are a factor in as far as defense is concerned.